Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Regressive Handbook, the video series in which I'll be taking a look at Bassem Youssef's YouTube series for Fusion, titled The Democracy Handbook. Strap in, it's going to be one hell of a bumpy ride. Okay, so this is the pilot episode of the Regressive Handbook, meaning if things go well and you guys don't think I'm a complete spastic, then I'll be producing another episode for each video released under the Democracy Handbook title by Fusion, as hosted by Bassem Youssef. Now, I'm going to be taking a look at the claims he makes and the commentary he provides in his videos, as well as into the behind-the-curtain details about the issues that he chooses to cover, because all too often I'll see a peppy little series like this one in some regressive outlet like Fusion. Seriously people, this network supported the martyring of Corin Gaines, the sad excuse for a mother who used her son as a human shield as she fired a shotgun at police. Anyway, it'll just be pockmarked with cherry-picked examples and gaps in information intentionally created in order to craft a particular propaganda piece. Alright. That's about all the introductory nonsense that I feel comfortable submitting you poor folks to. So let's get on with the video, shall we?
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Bassem Youssef. In my native Egypt I was a surgeon. Until the Arab Spring, when I realized my country itself had fallen ill. So I created a comedy show to help the nation heal. The people liked it, but the government not so much.
Okay, a little background here. Bassem Youssef started a satirical comedy show after the Arab Spring, but was targeted by an Egyptian prosecutor for the charge of basically insulting Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi. Eventually, a warrant was put out for his arrest for charges of insulting Islam and the president. He turned himself in and was eventually let out on bail. So basically, Egypt had an issue with free speech, particularly speech that was critical of the government and the predominant religion. Oh, Islam, you're just so tolerant. So Bassem left for the United States.
And before things got worse, I left for the land of the free. Now I can learn from the best. Yeah! After all, this is the United States of America, the greatest democracy on earth, right?
Alright, so you were essentially run out of Egypt for criticizing Islam and the Egyptian government, and you figured you'd just pop on over to the US and start taking pot shots at it. Alright, I'm going to let one of my favorite YouTubers, Bearing, handle conveying my feelings on this kind of behavior.
This probably isn't going to be like PC to say, but you can't just change teams and then start bagging out your old team. Kinda seems like bad sportsmanship or something. Did that cross anyone else's mind?
Just as a note, I took that little clip there from one of Bearing's videos. He didn't actually provide me with that clip for the use of this. Bearing, if you're watching this, bro, thank you for the awesome clip. Sorry to jack it on you.
A lot of people in this country are in love with making America great again. No one's exactly sure what that means, but they know that greatness will come back as soon as you get rid of all those undocumented immigrants.
Okay, Bassem, buddy, pal, when oversimplifying an issue, it's important to not take the generalization too far. Otherwise, it loses all believability and makes you look like an ass. The slogan, "Make America Great Again," is based off of the concept that the United States used to be the true leader of the free world. They had a booming manufacturing industry, affordable housing, plenty of jobs, and a lot of other great things that, well, you couldn't have dreamed of in the shithole nation that chased you out for making jokes.
Now, where I come from, there are tons of problems. Wars, civil unrest, government corruption, religious extremism, but immigration isn't one of them.
Alright, so you've got those points correct. Any particular reasons as to why you think illegal immigration isn't such a big problem in the Middle East?
Why? No one wants to come to the Middle East.
Hey, look everybody! Bassem's on a roll! Look at that, dude! You're knocking him out of the park! Really setting up a winning tradition here. Well, let's see how far he can stretch this winning streak.
but everybody wants to come to America.
Holy shit! Bassem, you'd almost think you actually enjoyed being in America. Frankly, I'm shocked.
As an immigrant, I'm part of the problem.
No, Bassem, you're not. Just because you are an immigrant, that does not automatically mean that you're somehow a problem. That's not the argument that's being made. The argument that's being made is that illegal immigrants, the ones who enter the country illegally, without going through the proper channels, are causing problems ranging from the criminal elements of the illegal immigrants to the effect that an influx of people willing to work for extremely low wages has on the people already living, working, or trying to find work in a particular region. I'm sensing that this whole oversimplification thing is going to be a recurring issue in your videos, isn't it? Well, I suppose only time will tell.
So I thought if I could just help solve the problem, maybe after Trump's wall goes up, you'll let me stay on the side with all the Outlook malls and reliable Wi-Fi.
You know what, Bassem? I'm sorry. I've been really rude thus far. Calling you by your first name and all is horrible of me. You, sir, were a surgeon in Egypt, and for that I think you deserve more respect. So, Dr. Youssef, if I may point something out, you were a fucking surgeon. Doc, from what I can tell, you graduated from the Cairo University Faculty of Medicine with a major in cardiothoracic surgery back in '98. You passed your United States medical license exam in '07, and you studied heart and lung transplantation in Germany. Dude, you are one educated and accomplished individual. There's no way in hell that you couldn't apply for and gain citizenship as a heart and lung surgeon in a nation with such a booming medical industry. There's really not many places in the world that wouldn't take somebody who has your credentials.
Here's the problem. You're selling yourself too well.
This amazing 5,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom cabin is truly a carpentry masterpiece.
$80. You want both showcases at $1 million bucks. You want both showcases at $1 million bucks.
The land of opportunity. The American dream. Yeah, the US is a pretty easy product to market, especially when you live in some backwater shithole nation. How do you figure you're going to be able to rebrand an entire nation, Doc? Help me out here, because I don't think we're on the same page.
No wonder there are about 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States.
Okay, just for reference, that's 2.5 million more people than the population of New York City. 11 million people, Doc. That's just shy of a third of my country's entire population. That's not an insignificant number. Like, you can't just brush that off like it's nothing.
Why not take a tip from my part of the world where everything is falling apart? Show people another side of America, with the streets paved with gold, maybe have a few potholes in them. And in order to see what we have to work with, I went to speak to Casey Dinges.
Okay, so the man he's meeting with is the American Society of Civil Engineers' Casey Dinges, the Society's Senior Managing Director of Public Affairs, Membership, and Marketing. It is in this man's best interests, and the interests of his group, the ASCE, for greater infrastructure spending to be put into budgets. I'm just saying.
Basically, you write the report card that tells us how good or bad the infrastructure in the United States is.
This part here is a little disingenuous. You see, Dr. Youssef is essentially inferring that his interviewee, Casey Dinges, writes the report card for the United States infrastructure, when it's more accurate to say that the ASCE writes it. As a Director of Public Affairs and Marketing, it's Mr. Dinges' job to wrap this up in a nice package to present to the general public so that the ASCE can better position itself when lobbying the government.
The average of all the 16 grades in 2013 was a D+. So shockingly bad.
So say the U.S. was a high school student, which college would they be admitted in?
I don't know if there's some community colleges that might take you on.
University of Phoenix actually accepts everybody.
We still have a long way to go in terms of addressing all these issues. I mean, just look at bridges. 1 in 10 are structurally deficient.
Okay, so structurally deficient has a couple of different meanings. Much like the new terminology for what qualifies as sexual assault, structural deficiency can mean anything from a bridge that, quote, meets minimum tolerable limits to be left in place as is, end quote, or it can just mean that its load-carrying capacity is below current design standards, or if the waterway below it reaches over the roadway in flood conditions. So yeah, if you're under the minimum tolerable limits, that's bad. But plenty of bridges see floodwaters rise over them in flood season, and just because current load-bearing standards are set at a certain point, it doesn't necessarily mean that each bridge is going to have to actually support that kind of weight. It's why you see signs that limit weight of vehicles passing over a particular bridge. Anyway, enough rambling. The point here, as with most of the series, is that good old Doc Youssef is bagging on the country he's staying in after his old country booted him out.
200 million times a day, people are taking trips over structurally deficient bridges.
You guys are a lot further along in Project Crapify America than I thought. But you still need something. A place, a town, a city, an icon of decay to be the poster child for your "you've got to be crazy to come here" campaign. And I've heard such a place exists.
Okay, now this is where it gets really good. No, seriously, if you can't tell, Bassem Youssef has a distinctive leftward lean to his politics. He's very much a Democrat. He's about to tell us about one of the most hard-done-by cities in all of the United States, but the irony is just jarring.
The town of Flint, Michigan has the right idea. For years, it's ranked among America's most dangerous cities. In 2012 alone, Flint's approximately 100,000 residents experienced 62 murders, 106 rapes, and 662 robberies.
You'll see here that the stats shown go back to 2010. Well, Flint's had issues since way before then, and in all that time, every single mayor of Flint has been a Democrat. Every one. Going back so far as 91 at the very least, possibly back into like the mid-80s, late 70s. I'm not going to say, this is the fault of the Democrats, but the buck does stop at the mayor's office for pretty much any and all things municipal.
Every day, Flint works hard to make itself less inhabitable, but nothing's worked as well as their latest strategy, poisoning the water. Sure, it sounds like such an obvious solution once you hear it, but it wasn't as easy as just tossing a few handfuls of anthrax into the reservoir. I wanted to talk to one of the people on the ground, a citizen leader like Beulah Walker, to learn how impressed the locals were with Flint's innovative anti-immigration strategy.
18 months of dirty, brown, corrosive water. There was no warnings. There was no boil alerts. People started getting sick. Babies were going to the doctors. Women were miscarrying.
What will happen if this continues?
People are going to die. So far, there's 11 deaths in Moore County.
Let's talk about the problems that Flint has. It has unemployment, crime, water crisis. Does it have a legal immigration problem?
No, it does not.
So people don't want to immigrate to Flint?
No one wants to. I wouldn't.
You think this is a kind of a silver lining, keeping people out? Where I come from, it's just much more straightforward. We just like go and bomb the whole city down. Go
That's
out.
horrible.
Yeah, it's faster.
Yeah, Doc, your old country sure was a terrible place to live, huh? Bet you're really happy to be in the Western world now. I bet, as a media personality and a distinctly qualified cardiothoracic surgeon, that your quality of life here in America probably beats out the national average and blows the Egyptian national average clean out of the water. Man, I bet you love it here so much that you'd never even think of ragging on the nation that's given you such a great place to live.
Since Flint began poisoning its citizens, a growing number of American communities are now climbing on board the toxic train.
The people of Jackson, Mississippi are facing a scary and unfortunately familiar-sounding crisis over lead found in drinking water.
The states of Alabama, West Virginia, Kentucky, all reporting extensive exposure to lead poisoning.
And poisoned water is just one idea. You could poison the air, like they did in California.
Methane gushing out at 70,000 pounds an hour, and that gas is making people sick.
The Gulf Coast is probably ready for a fresh oil spill. And who says lead is the only thing to put in the water? Look what happens when you live near fracking.
I can often hold a standard kitchen match to my water, just like that.
Okay, I'll give you the whole fracking thing. The extraction of natural gas through the use of pressurized steam has a ton of nasty side effects. This one's all yours. 100%, no qualms on it. All in with you on this one, pal.
Holy shit! There you have it, America. Your infrastructure is failing across the board. Now that you know that, you need to make sure aspiring immigrants know it too, so they don't come here. Here's what I propose. Go to the nearest bridge that's falling down in your town. Take pictures of it, post them on social media. Instagram the shit out of it. Let them be a warning. Your own special way of saying, don't come here. You're just as fucked as the place you came from.
Yeah, you see, Doc, that's not entirely accurate. If you want to make the claim that the US is just as bad as where illegal immigrants are coming from, you'd need to make a better case than just, we've got a few cities with shitty water, and a bunch of our bridges, well, they need some work. Also, the whole sharing a photo of your local decrepit bridge thing, it's actually just a cheap take on the ASCE's Bridges Photo Contest. I'd say it was a coincidence if you hadn't put a sit down with the ASCE's PR guy in this video. Hashtag super original, bro.
That's all it takes, America. Just keep doing nothing, and the whole place is going to fall apart before your very eyes. Today's Flint is tomorrow's Baghdad, but without the Arabs.
So you mean you could run Flint completely into the ground, and it would still be a better choice as a place for the majority of people in the Western world to live, if given Flint and Baghdad as options? What? The majority of Arabs aren't exactly known for being tolerant of your average Westerner, or each other, for that matter. Do you even realize how often Alright everybody, we've just made it through the first ridiculously patronizing episode of Bassem Youssef's Democracy Handbook. And personally, I haven't learned a damn thing that I didn't already know about America. At least, not from Youssef. I learned plenty of my research about the issues he's going on about, though, even though most of it seemed to run against the narrative that Youssef and Fusion seem to be pushing. Funny how that whole reality thing works, huh? Okay, so yeah, this has been the first episode of the Regressive Handbook, as hosted by your wonderfully charming and humble guide, me. If you've enjoyed this examination of the first installment of the Democracy Handbook series, and you'd like to see me take on their next video titled The Right to Buy Guns, give the video a like, leave a comment down below, and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any new and possibly entertaining content from my channel. This has been JT Viper with the Regressive Handbook. Have a good one.